Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are at Goodwood Festival of Speed 2024, and in today's video I'm going to be running through how to go through the entire process of being accredited, how to be safe on track, especially a live track, and how to conduct yourself properly when you're at an event like this as a photographer and as a videographer. I'll speak about the differences towards the end, but I'm going to be speaking mostly about photography and having a photographer tabard. I'll also be showing you the shots that I've got, where I've been, access you can get, and how that access can change throughout the day. So stick around to the end because it's going to be super informative. Let's talk about access and what being accredited means. So accreditation doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get access to one of these. So accreditation means that the organisers of the event, for this example, Goodwood Festival of Speed, they deem you as being a representative of a media outlet, and they give you access to have a media band, which is one of these, the white one, for example. Different colours, different days. That gives you access to some areas. On the screen there is a map highlighting the areas that that band gets you. Now the next level up is having a tabard. So this tabard then gives you access to more exclusive areas to get specific shots as a photographer. There are different tabards for photographers and videographers. I will speak about videographers later on. So for photographers, the areas that you can go on site are on the screen and highlighted. Those are the purple sections. Anyone with a media band can't go there. It used to be slightly different, but they've now changed, and you're able to go to those areas as a photographer only, as long as you have a photographer tabard. Now for videographers, they have a armband that highlights they are accredited and have a tabard. That means that they can shoot video. That gives you the license and the ability to shoot video around the track, but not of the track. Now, having the tabard doesn't mean that you get access to everywhere, and that access can be revoked or removed depending on, one, your etiquette and how you are, and two, if things change. So not necessarily here, but on live tracks, for example, you have situations that happen where you then have to change the rules if and when it suits the safety of the live track. And that's what's really important to highlight, is the safety of photographers, videographers, and the guests. It's the most important thing. There is obviously the discrepancy between, we have content to shoot as photographers and videographers, we have deliverables to fulfill for clients, so it makes it really difficult sometimes when that happens. However, it's always about safety first, and that's the most important thing when you're at these events. So if a steward or marshal tells you you can't do something, don't argue, just do it and go and speak to somebody else and say, hey, how come the rules have changed? Is it going to change back? Is it just for a certain batch or a certain time period? Can you let us know? I will highlight as well that Festival Speed, Goodwood, for example, is essentially split in two. You have the commercial aspect, so commercial cars like Range Rover, Polestar, etc., these type of brands. And then on the other side of the track, you have Motorsport. They do cross-pollinate, and obviously all vehicles go up the track. So just as a little FYI. I've got this, which is the 600mm f4 from Sony, Turn 1, and the reason Turn 1's good is because you get beautiful compression down to the start line. I think the location that I want to shoot from is further on back here, just to get that nice compression. So you've just seen some of the POV content where I'm talking about the gear that I'm using, the photos that I was taking, but now I want to talk about how you apply for accreditation. So for this example, for Festival of Speed, the way that it goes on their website, you can go and apply for accreditation for events they have coming up. It could be for Festival of Speed, it could be for Revival or any other events that Goodwood have going on. But you go on there, you fill it out, you talk about who you're representing, and then basically it's up to them. It's up to their discretion whether or not you get accredited. Now, if you want to have a Tabbard and you want to be able to walk around the track and take photos with that Tabbard on, you must have the correct insurance. So for this example, you had to have £5 million worth of public liability to be able to shoot trackside. That is obviously to cover anything that goes wrong, and if it's your fault or if there's anything that happens, it's definitely something you should have anyway. But when you're wanting to have accreditation, you have to have it. So for example, this is the same for any track. You have to have public liability, and this goes for pretty much most tracks. £5 million is kind of the norm, just because motorsport is so expensive and motorsport has a lot of risk involved. So it is typically a higher point. I use Hiscox insurance, but there is a ton of insurance providers out there. So don't feel like stressed. Just go onto Google, type in public liability insurance. And if you are a full-time photographer, creator, you should have this anyway. So also for myself, I wasn't a priority photographer. So priority photographer are media outlets that have, let's say, a precedent over smaller media outlets. For example, myself, I'm just there creating content for myself, Polestar, and I was there a bit with MG, just getting some photos on track, but it wasn't a major media outlet. For example, Festival of Speed or Goodwood's socials, these types of magazines or media outlets, they come first. So how long do you get the Tabbard for? Some media outlets are allowed to have the Tabbard all day, depending on their media outlet. I was only allowed to have half a day, and then if there was one available and there was no one else in the afternoon or in the morning or whatever, I could then request to have it again, but that's up to their discretion. So for example, I would have it in the morning, and then I would go and take it back at 1 p.m. and then I would have to wait an hour and a half, an hour roughly. So go and have some lunch, come back, and then if nobody else had claimed a Tabbard, or if there was a lot of Tabbards left, then the staff could, in their discretion, they could say, okay, there's enough available, you can have another one if you would like it. So it's not a definite that you're going to get a Tabbard. It's obviously down to the organizer's discretion. At stuff like Silverstone or Snetterton or Alton, there's a lot more Tabbards available and they have different procedures. Whereas for Goodwood Festival Speed, they've tightened things down this year to make it more safe for us as creators, which is important. Again, touching on that safety aspect, that's the most important thing for these events when you're attending. And again, listen to the stewards and marshals. I won't stress that enough because it is really important. They're there to make our lives safe and the people going up and down the track safe. Now, the start line. So you can get a wristband that allows you to go onto the start line where you can get content of the cars pulling up to where they're going to start their hill climb. Now, it's important to note that there are certain areas that you can be within that start line. And again, that's highlighted on the screen with the photo. You can see any red areas you can't go in, and then any non-red areas you can go in if you have the start line wristband. So to get that, it's again up to the discretion of the accrediting people. So for example, Goodwood, it was up to them, up to the girls that I spoke to, and up to the gentleman that I spoke to down on the start line, whether or not I was able to get one, and it's up to their discretion again. This can also change depending on what type of batch is going out, what type of cars are going up the hill, what are the requirements. The marshals on the start line will tell you where and where you can't go. It's important just to say, okay, that's fine, I'll move, instead of just being stubborn. I saw it happen, and I know it's happened before, where people believe that they're allowed to be somewhere and they disagree with the marshal, and that's okay to have a disagreement, but just move away temporarily, find out the solution, and then move back. I know we all have a job to do, but it's just really important that safety is first. So what gear did I take with me to Festival Speed? So I had two camera bodies. One was the Sony A7R5 and one was the Fujifilm GFX 100 II. Now, the GFX 102 is from Fujifilm. It's a lone camera. I've got it for 2 weeks. I've just been trying it out, testing it out to see how I like the camera. The Sony a7R5 is a great tool. It's a great workhorse, fantastic camera, amazing burst rate, and it's can't really ask for a better camera at the moment. For Goodwood, you want one camera body, and I would say probably 3 lenses. I mean, the Holy Trinity would probably be the one to go with. So like a 12, 24, 2470, 7200. That would cover all bases. But my personal setup is 16 to 35, 35 to 150, and then a bigger lens. So for this example, Sony had a stand at Goodwood for media, and you could go and borrow gear from Sony. They had a 600mm f4, which I borrowed, which was insane. You've seen some of the POV footage. The photos turned out incredible from it. I do know that Sony are trying to work and collaborate with more event organizers to put on these types of things. So Sony have camera bodies and lenses. So if you turn up and be like, well, I shoot Canon or Fujifilm, but I really want to try out a 400mm. Go to the guys at Sony, if they're there, and say, hey, look, I want to try out the 400mm. Can I borrow a camera body and the 400mm? And they'll go, yes, bring it back later. And then that way you get to go and get some crispy, nice shots at 400mm. And also get to try out a new camera body. So just keep that in mind if you're going to any events. Just see if there are any camera brands or manufacturers that are going to be there that can offer some loan gear. I know that Canon have previously done it. Fujifilm, I think, might have done it at some events, but have a look to see if there are any camera manufacturers at the event you're going to, because they might be able to loan you some gear that will give you something a little bit different. If you have any other questions about accreditation, about how to go about applying for these types of things, drop it down in the comments below, or alternatively head over to Instagram and send me a DM and I'll get back to you. Any questions at all, I'm happy to help. Just drop it down in the comments or send me a DM. All of the photos that you've seen in today's video are edited from my presets. There is a ton down in the description for just £10, $12 in USD. There is 168 mobile presets and 188 desktop, I think it is, down in the description. They're all mine. I've edited them. I've created them over the last 7 years of creating content. They're all down there for a great affordable price. Let me know what you think. Just before we sign out of this video, I want to say a massive thank you to Goodwood Festival Speed for allowing me to create this video, and definitely head down and check out their socials. They post obviously everything that goes on at Goodwood, but most importantly, you get some updates of things that are going on. So thank you again to Goodwood for letting me create this video. I do really appreciate it, and I hope it helps you, whoever you are out there creating content in the future. Again, head over and ask me some questions if you need to. Create more, stress less, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace, love, go shoot.